Hello everybody, welcome back to Practically Outdoors. Today I'm going on a little rainy overnighter. It's January, it's wet, it's supposed to get wetter. I have a new lightweight hammock that I'm going to try sleeping in. Got a little tarp I'm going to set it up under. Hang out for a little while down at the creek. So if that sounds like something you're into, hang around. Well, I made it down to the creek. It's really moving. There's a lot of water coming through here right now. So I'm just gonna wander up and down the creek a little bit and try and find a good spot to make camp. It's wet and it's wild. I see something over there through the trees. Let's go check it out. I think it's a frozen waterfall. There it is, check that out. That's a frozen waterfall. There's a little one over there too. How cool is that? We just came out of a real cold snap the last couple of weeks. Got down to close to minus 20 Celsius and we had a huge dump of snow. And then it's just warmed up and everything started to melt off now, but there's obviously still some frozen stuff. There's still snow on the ground. So it's not exactly warm out. It's not super cold either. I think it's 7 or 8 degrees Celsius right now. Good day for an adventure. Cool. Okay, let's see if we can't find a little camp spot. I found a couple of good looking spots to make my campsite, but one of them is pretty close to the rapids and is really loud. I don't think it would be a good spot for filming, and I think I'd actually have a hard time sleeping there. So I'm gonna go back to this other one, give it a second look. There's this big old chunk of cedar that the creek washed down once upon a time, so that'll make good firewood, and it's pretty close to where I want to camp. So when you pick a spot to camp in a riverbed or a creek bed like this, you want to make sure you're far enough into the woods that you're not going to get affected by rising water. Even though it looks like I'm quite a ways away from the river where I am here, I'm on river sand. All of this sand got washed up during high water, so the creek can get up this high and even a little bit higher. And that's not a surprise you want to wake up to. It's happened to me before. It's not good. So I'm gonna go a little farther into the woods here. So this is a really nice little spot for a little campsite. It's got trees that I can hang my hammock from and my tarp from that are about the right distance apart. It's far enough off the creek bed that I don't have to worry about rising water. No sign of the creek having been up here in a very long time. And there's some good firewood close by. Nice little flat spot. This will be perfect. Got a little bit of this underbrush cleared out. I'm gonna work on getting my tarp up. That way I can keep everything dry, hopefully. Got the tarp up, looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. Just gonna collect some firewood now. Might string my hammock up and get a fire going. Maybe make tea, maybe make a little lunch. Hang out, have a good time. This is my hammock. It's just a cheapie that I ordered off of Amazon. I've never spent the night in a hammock before, so I don't know if it's something I'm gonna wanna do on a regular basis. So I thought I'd just get an inexpensive one to try it out. I think it was about $30. Never set it up before, but setting up a hammock isn't too hard, so I don't think it'll be too much of a challenge. So we got one little problem. That hammock is probably 10 feet long and that tarp is only 8 feet long. So it hangs out both ends by about a foot. I did bring a backup tarp, So I'm gonna throw it on top of this one, pull it out just enough that it'll cover the end of the hammock, and hopefully that'll solve my problem. This is just a super cheap, super thin little tarp from the dollar store. It was like $1 or $2. It's not very big, but it's good to have in the pack. It uses a ground sheet or an emergency tarp if you need one. Good thing to bring. Got the blue tarp up. Doesn't look the prettiest, but it's not a problem we couldn't solve. That'll give me lots of room to put the hammock under there now, so let's get her set up and see how she looks. Alright, it looks pretty good. It's gonna sag down a little bit obviously in the night as the straps stretch out. I started with it hanging a little higher than what looks normal, but I think that'll end up working out. The whole hammock is under the tarp this time, so that's nice. It's not gonna get wet. Pretty excited to give it a try, but it's not that time yet. Gonna go collect some firewood and maybe get a little fire going. This looks like an old chunk of cedar over here that floated down the creek a long time ago. I'm gonna cut into her and see if she looks any good. That'll definitely make for some great firewood. Nice and dry on the inside. Right by camp. Can't complain about that. I'm gonna cut a bunch of that stuff. So the creek makes a bend here, a pretty sharp bend, and in high water it pushes debris up into this corner. A lot of that debris is just old cedar that'll be great firewood, so I'm gonna cut into that a little bit and see what I can dig out of there. That's gonna be really nice stuff to burn. That'll last a long time. Got dark on us pretty quick there, but I got a good fire going. So I'm gonna throw dinner on. Got a potato, got a steak, and I got a pot of water that I'm gonna boil for a tea. So I'm just gonna throw that potato down in the coals and then rig the steak up on a stick and get her going. Alright, let's skewer this steak. Looks like the steak's done. The potato feels like it's done. It's dinner time. About 7 o'clock now. Finished dinner. It was really good. That steak over the fire turned out really well. I'm just hanging out with the fire now until it burns itself out, and then I'll get ready for bed. Put my little foam in my sleeping bag in the hammock and test her out. Well, I made it into the hammock. This one has a screen on it to keep bugs out and that sort of thing, which I thought was a handy feature, but boy was it a pain to get in. I don't know if I was doing something wrong or not, but it was a giant pain. I got changed into warm, dry clothes, which is very nice. That feels great. But getting changed under that low tarp and then getting in here was a struggle. I don't think this is going to be something I use on a regular basis. It's hard to beat a small tent for functionality compared to this thing, but we'll see how the night goes. I'm already sagging really low. I think I felt my butt touch the ground a couple times, but I'm warm and I'm dry, so that makes me happy. Anyhow, I'll see you guys in the morning. Oh, good morning. It's about 8 o'clock. Rained really hard all night. I did end up getting some rain into my hammock, and it was actually pooling at my feet and dripping on my head. So I got up at about 4 in the morning and I dried out my sleeping bag as best as I could, put some socks on and changed positions. Went back to sleep for a bit. It rained a lot. The creek came up a whole bunch. I'll show you guys in a minute. It's a good example of why you don't camp in a creek bed. Overall, I'm mostly dry. The comfort level of the hammock was okay. I wouldn't use it again at this time of year. Might try it again in the summer. It was a little cold, not having any insulation beneath me, and just awkward to get in and out of. I didn't enjoy that part. This is a good example of why you don't camp in a stream bed. That's my camp behind me in the woods. And look at how much the creek came up overnight. It was not nearly that high when I went to bed last night. Now I have waterfront property at my campsite. I could actually hear boulders being pushed down the creek in the middle of the night. They'd wake me up. Sometimes I could feel it in the ground. Huge boulders being pushed down there. It was wild and very loud. Pretty crazy stuff. The creek would have actually been higher than this at some point last night too. There's a big chunk of wood on this rock that wasn't there last night. The creek pushed that up sometime when I was sleeping. So there'd been a fair amount more water coming through here at that point even. Well, I got the camp broken down. That's it for me. I'm hiking out of here. I'm gonna go home and have a hot coffee. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Feel free to drop a like, subscribe if you want to, and hopefully I see you on the next adventure.